Does anyone fit into just one pattern size? Can you ever cut just one pattern size? Most of the people that I know in my life have to at least blend between 2 or 3 sizes. How do you do that, you might ask? Well, today we are sharing tip number 2 from the vault, oldie but goodie, here on Creative Custom Academy, all about the easy way to blend your sizes on your pattern to make it size you and not size whatever number they say you're supposed to be. Hey, welcome back to Tricky Thursday. My name is Trisha. I'm the owner of Creative Costume Academy, and I am all about the easy way to learn pattern making so you can start making your own designs that fit you flawlessly. Today, we're kind of continuing an earlier conversation through this month of tracing off our patterns and getting our patterns ready to start making adjustments and making those unique designs and fitting changes. Today, we're going to be focusing on what happens if you're looking at a pattern and you're kind of between sizes. How do you grade between the sizes when you have multiple different size options on one pattern? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to take you over to the table so I can show you what I'm talking about instead of just explaining it. So see you over there. So this pattern has 3 different sizes on it, and a lot of modern patterns do have this option, which is great because if you're falling in between sizes, which a lot of us do, this is a great way to have options not only for different sizes, for different people, for if we fluctuate, but also so you can make adjustments to fit you for your body. So I want to talk about this pattern a little bit, and every pattern is going to be different in how you want to make this alteration, but we'll go through it with this style. This is a princess seam style jacket, I think it is. And so you have your back piece and you have a side back piece and you have a front back piece. But I just want to point out something when you're looking at these multiple sizes. So these different lines here are what tells you, you know, the inside line is one size and the outside line is a different size, and they have different dash markings to let me know what size as it continues. But if you notice on this back piece, you can see the variable sizes up along the top and in the shoulder, but then it kind of blends in, and the bottom of the centerpiece is all one size basically. And you see most of your adjustment over here on the side seam on the side back panel. That's because most of the adjustment you want to make it over here on the side than you do here in the middle of the princess seam. And that's true for most princess seam garments. Now there are some occasions where you do want to get and make adjustments here, but that is a more difficult adjustment and it can cause more problems sometimes. So most of your adjustment will happen over here. And we'll get back to that in a second because I also want to point out, notice how the front is the same way. We've got the multiple sizes up here at the top, and then it kind of blends on our center front from, you know, the bust down is all one size. And then over here is our side front. I know it's upside down, but you can see that most of the adjustment in the size is happening in the side seam. So let's go back to our back pieces over here. So as you can see, like I was mentioning before, multiple sizes up here, and then it blends into 0 at the bust area, like around that line, that level. And then most of our sizing adjustment happens over here on the side seam. So if you have one size that you are in the bust area, a different size that you are in the waist area, and you can see here that the waist is indicated as it is on most patterns. And if not, you can kind of see over here on the side seam, see how it comes in the most here? That's telling me that that's where the waist is. So that can kind of help you if you're dealing with a fitted garment, know where that waist is. And then this one, some patterns are really nice and they will tell you where your hip level is. And this pattern kind of goes below the hip level, but again, just like you can see where the most indented part is the waist, where it comes back out to our fullest part is meant to be the hip area. So if it's not marked, you can kind of eyeball that this is the hip area because it comes back out to the widest part. So if you are a different size from your hip, your waist, and your bust, you have a couple of options here. So let's say you did your measurements, you looked at the back of the envelope, and if you need more information on that, you can go back to our earlier Tricky Thursdays, how we decide what pattern to use and what size to use. I talk more about that. But if you are, let's say, the bigger size on your bust area, so that's kind of this area, right? It's usually about 1.5 inches below, depending on how dropped your underarm or your armhole is, but it's usually like right around this area. They usually have a notch in that area. It would be like where the grade all starts to come together. And this little, on here, you can see the front, there's actually like an X mark. So that's kind of telling me that that's like the bust area. So if I was the biggest size, let's say on this pattern in the bust, but I go to say the middle size here in my waist area, so that's super easy, and it's great to use these graded patterns so that you can easily blend those sizes. So if I'm the biggest size and I want to go to the middle size at my waist, all you need to do is connect those lines, the biggest size with that middle size, just like that, and hopefully you can see that. So now when I'm tracing off this pattern, I can trace off that line that I drew and then continue. If let's say I stayed in that middle size through my hips, my waist and my hips, then I can just continue tracing off that smaller size in the waist and the hips. And for everything above that, above the bust, so as I'm going up here, I'm going to go with the bigger size. And same thing with this back piece. So this is the side back. So when I'm tracing off the back piece, because I made the adjustment here, when I'm tracing off the back piece, I'm going to go with the bigger size because that's all above the bust. So it's just kind of looking at your patterns and determining where those bust, waist, hip measurements are and would be on the pattern in comparison with your body. Now let's go back to the side seam again. Let's say you don't stay, in the middle size in your hips, and you go back out to the bigger size, or you go to even a smaller size. But let's say we go back out to our bigger size, and I don't have my curve handy, but a curve ruler would really help with this. But like I said, you can kind of tell how it goes in here and it comes back out. So this is telling me right around here in that area is my hip area. So if I went in at the middle and then wanted to go back out at my hips, then I would just draw a line connecting it back out to that wider hip line. So drawing that back out. So now when I trace this off, instead of staying with that middle size below where I made that adjustment, I would go back out to the bigger size, and I only made the adjustment right here in the waist. So same thing, let's pretend I didn't do that and I wanted to go in even smaller. Then you can go from the waist into the smaller size. So I hope you kind of are getting the idea of what I'm saying. So anything below that, then I would stick with the smaller size below. I'd come in here at the waist, and then I would do the larger size above. So whatever you need, and it can be the reverse of this. I won't go into all the possibilities that it would be, but I would then do whatever like sizing lines that I drew on this side seam, I would do the exact same thing on the front side seam so that they matched. And then when I copied it, I want to make sure whatever size I am using for the bottom, I'm copying anything below where I made that adjustment at the bottom the same size, and anything that I am sticking with for my top size, I'm copying that size for anything above that. So it's really handy to make those easy alterations when you have a pattern like this. The next thing I want to say is, once you've kind of decided which size you are top, which size you are in the medium, or excuse me, in the waist, and what size you are in the hips, and you've connected them all how you want them to connect, trace this off onto real paper and do this next step. So the next step I'm going to show you is after you've traced this off in the size that you want, and I still think that this next step is important.